Welcome back. I am Mr. Sesotris. It is Monday, and this week I wanted to do a brief introduction to a very famous epic poem that is super important to pretty much everything that came after it, and I love it a lot. And it also counts as fan fiction, so that's always fun. I am, of course, talking about Paradise Lost by John Milton. This was published in the mid 1600s. And it sort of tells the story of the fall of mankind in the Garden of Eden, and the fall of Lucifer, and all of the stuff going on in there, kind of right at the beginning of kind of the creation of the world. And this one is just it's really fun because this book has had kind of, I think, more influence on how we see like the devil in popular culture, more so than anything that's written in like the Bible. Even in like Dante's Divine Comedy, when you finally meet the devil in that one, he's kind of a static figure. He's sort of this massive being who's kind of chained in this icy, deep section of hell, and they have to kind of climb over him to get out, kind of thing. He's not a very active character. He doesn't really have much of a personality in that one. But in this one, he's very much the protagonist. I don't know if he's necessarily the hero of the story. I know some people say that like this was written where Satan is kind of the hero. And it's not that he's really the hero. It's just that he's written very well. He's written kind of as a deep, complex character, and we are kind of meant to sympathize with his plight. Milton was very critical of the monarchy. He believed that England should be a republic, and he uses Satan as kind of not a mouthpiece, but as kind of a way to explore that, where he's kind of speaking out against the hypocrisy of monarchy. And it's written in such a way that like it wasn't offensive, even though it did make a lot of people mad at the time. But it wasn't necessarily offensive because the person was Satan, and we know that he's not like a good person. So Milton was able to kind of, I don't know, yassify Satan, if we will say that, and make him into a cool, complex, nuanced character with a lot of depth. Now, this is an epic poem. It's quite long compared to kind of some of the others. So the text is like that much. So that much. This is the Norton Critical Edition because I love it so much. And so there's a lot of like extra stuff at the end. But it is fairly long, but it's so worth reading. It's great. And if nothing else, this one is so important to kind of pop culture, like more so than I think the Bible itself. The Bible sort of created the characters, and then it's like these epic poets who kind of created everything else. You know, Dante is where we get kind of our concept of hell from, and Paradise Lost is where we get our concept of Satan from as like a main character. And there's so much stuff that we have to kind of thank Paradise Lost for. A big one is Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials. The title, His Dark Materials, comes from Paradise Lost, and I think it opens with a quote from Paradise Lost. Yes, book 2, the first thing in the book, it's a quote from Paradise Lost, and that's, you know, in that. Stuff like Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett, or Sandman, a book for the Season of Mist. This is where Dream kind of goes to hell to face Lucifer. And so like all of this all comes from Paradise Lost. Even Anne Rice's Memnoch the Devil, which kind of has one of the characters being told kind of the history of creation from the point of view of a character who claims to be the devil, and it's kind of like up in the air as to kind of who that character really is, but still so much of this comes from Paradise Lost. One thing I will say about this one to be on the lookout for is that The language can be a bit dense. I love it, and there's gorgeous quotes and just wonderful, sweeping, epic poetry, which I would highly recommend. But Milton does sometimes take a long time to get to the point. You'll have a sentence that will go on, and it'll be filled with like literary allusions and historical allusions. And after like lines and lines and lines of this, you'll finally get to like the subject and the verb of the sentence. So that is a thing that happens, but stick with it. I swear it's one of those things where you get to the end of it and you're like, wow. And I'm not even like a religious person, but it's just the way that everything is kind of presented and the complexity of it. And if you read up on the history of what was going on at the time, and all the criticisms that Milton had of the monarchy, it just adds so much depth to this. This is great. I read this in college for the first time, and then I read it again a couple of years later, kind of on my own. And I do want to give it another read because I think it's been like 7-ish years since I've read it. But it's wonderful. I would highly recommend it. It's great, and it will just, if nothing else, it'll give you like book title ideas or song title ideas forever, because the poetry, the way it's written, is just so good and it's so iconic. And yes, Paradise Lost. I think Milton did write a sequel called Paradise Regained, which I don't know. I've never read it. I don't really know a whole lot about it, but I don't know. This one is just better. It's just better. So read this and enjoy it, and read all the background stuff as well, because there's a lot of great stuff there. And so that is a brief introduction, brief chaotic introduction to Paradise Lost. Read it. If you have read it, what did you think of it? If you hated it, I'd love to hear about what you hated about it, because it is very easy to make fun of, because like I said, Milton rambles sometimes, and it's just, you're just like, okay, get to the point, please. I need to get to the point. But it's great. This is probably one of the greatest works of fan fiction ever, and yeah, we need to not forget this wonderful poem. I don't know where I'm going with this. My brain is kind of dead. But with that, I'll let you go. I will see you next week, and in the meantime, enjoy your reading. Bye.